and good morning. Before we start Mr. Shantanu's session, please do join the session of Mr. Shantanu. Shantanu Sen Sharma is a renowned expert in helping organizations transform key accounts into high value partnerships. Emphasizing the cost effectiveness of client retention, he advocates for data driven strategies that enhance customer engagement and profitability. His proprietary IVS process, focusing on insights, value, experience, and stakeholders, guides companies in deepening client relationships and driving growth. Shantanu has been instrumental in shifting businesses from product based to lead engagement, particularly within IT and engineering services. His work has empowered delivery teams to become client partners, resulting in improved retention, stakeholder alignment, and revenue expansion. That's Mr. Shantanuji. He's into various business strategies in getting client retention, value to the company, and also revenue expansion. The stage is all yours, Mr. Shantanu. Welcome to Onboard.
Yeah, so just a quick check. Can you hear me well? If you can hear me well, just say a yes. That's absolutely awesome. So it's a huge pleasure and privilege being here. I am dialing in from a city called Pune, which is in the western side of India. By Indian standards, it's not a very large city, but it's just about 6 million in kind of population. So I want to just cross check that you can see my screen, right? Now, I wanted to talk about this subject called customer centricity, and that's where the audiences felt that and this is something which I've been really passionate about. Now, when we talk about customer centricity, he's already introduced me. So I am an engineering graduate with further studies in UK. I worked in the information technology industry for about 25 years, and then I founded my own company, which is called Ozone, right? So that's a little about me. Now, even before we get into customer centricity, I think let's look at the world around us, right? And we have been having this term called VUCA, Barney, Black Swan, etc. The world is changing like never before. Interestingly, when I started working, on my first day in office, our company which I had joined had shown a video called 1 minute to midnight. And what essentially the video did was that it compressed the entire span of human existence from the time man kind of stood up, right? Maybe old Stone Age, till today, and compressed it into 1 year, right? 1 year. And what we were told is that fire or the wheel was invented somewhere in the month of October. World War II was fought maybe just a few seconds back. So as we go around, the world is rapidly changing at such a humongous, very fast rate. And that's making a lot of difference to the way our customers expect and our customers behave. Now, what is the impact of customer behavior on these? Number one is that customer experience has become a unique differentiator. Whether we are in a mall, whether we are in a hotel, whether we are in a restaurant, there is a lot of mass personalization, and customer experience has become a unique differentiator. That's number one. But customer experience is not everything of customer centricity, and we'll explore the blocks one by one. The second is, what do we mean here by insights-centric engagements, right? By insight-centric engagement, there are two parts here. One is that we want to have a thorough understanding of the customer. Number two is that we also need to give our insights to the customer, because in the VUCA world, in the Black Swan world, where things are rapidly changing, the customer may not be very clear about what he or she needs. So we got to differentiate between the wants and the needs. And let me give you an example. All of us fly from place to place. And I was overhearing a conversation between a consultant and an airlines company. So the consultant was designing digital solutions for the airlines company. So the airlines company says, and we'll call the airlines company airlines. Airlines says that, I'm a little worried. My net promoter scores have gone down. My customers seem to be unhappy. There are a lot of new players in the market. Consultant asks, so what do you want me to do? So he says, airline says that I want to digitize all the touch points which are there with the customer. Consultant says, such as, he says he stands in line, he does a check-in, there's a boarding announcement, there's embarkation, there's food, there's entertainment in the craft, there's disembarkation, and there's luggage collection. So he says, are you sure you want me to digitize just these 5 or 6 touch points? Airline says, absolutely. Consultant then says, I recently flew your airlines and I gave you a 6.5 on 10. And airline says, I'm curious to know why. So consultant says, I wanted vegan food, not at the inside the craft, but at the airport, and I had no clue on where to get vegan food. Airlines looks astounded and says, but that's not within my purview. But he says that as a flyer, you put yourself in my shoes. My customer experience is the flying journey of which you are but a part. Now, if you had a bolt-on application or something in your website which said that, hey, here is where you get vegan food, I would have been absolutely delighted. So the airlines thought for a moment and said that, I think, consultant, you have a point. So here the consultant has not only received an insight from the customer, but he's also given an insight for the customer, which is why I think insight-centric engagements are becoming more and more popular or more and more rewarding. Engagement cycles are becoming shorter. CEO lives are becoming shorter. So it's from one quarter to another, and nobody is prepared to wait for 4 or 5 years for outcomes to come. And which is why methodologies like Agile, etc., have come into the market. Technology, the stakeholder has changed. For example, if there's somebody in your company side or in the customer side who is responsible for ESG, that ESG person also cannot handle ESG as a standalone. It has to be integrated with business. So in the technology space, whether we are going digital, etc., it's not technology. It is technology to solve a business problem. And therefore, I must be equally comfortable talking to technology and talking to business, right? Now, output to outcome. So an example of this is very simple. Let's say I'm a pest control customer and I have pests which I want to get rid of. So the solution provider, I am not interested. The solution provider comes and says that this is a lovely mouse trap that I've built. It's AI enabled, etc. So that's an output, a lovely AI enabled mouse trap. But ultimately, what I'm looking for is outcomes. I'm looking at, I want to get rid of mice. I don't care whether you have a great mousetrap. I don't care whether you're using AI. You can use anything you want as long as I get rid of mice, right? So there is a huge emphasis on the outcome. Now, when we look at the 4 pillars, and I think when I was being introduced, they talked about the IVES framework. Now, a lot of our customers ask me that we understand that customer centricity means that keeping the customer at the center, the customer is our number one stakeholder. But how do I become customer centric, right? Now, our 4 pillars that we talk about is the IVES framework. I stands for insights. I get insights from the customer. I give insights to the customer. For example, maybe 15 years back, a traveler said that a hotel in Madrid, a hotel in Netherlands, in Amsterdam, a hotel in Singapore, a hotel in Mumbai, they all look the same. So when I travel to Madrid and when I travel to Amsterdam or I travel to Singapore, I don't get a sense of how the locals live. I want to live like a local. That was a customer insight based on which Airbnb was born. So based on that insight, Airbnb came up with a value proposition. I create a value. Now, along with the value, I obviously have to deliver a delightful customer experience across a range of stakeholders, So all my stakeholders, whether they are the ESG unit, whether they are the technology unit, whether they are the business unit, all the stakeholders must be absolutely delighted. In India, very often we have three-tier families, what I call three-tier families. So there could be a 45-year-old couple, and I'm using 45 just as an approximation. Their parents stay with them who are maybe 70, 75 years old, and their children who are about 15 years old also stay with them. And I am a travel agent, let's say, and I want all of them to go to the Himalayas for a spiritual pilgrimage. Right now, if I tell the what's in it for me to the 75-year-old grandparents, and I say you will be closer to God, you will have a spiritual experience, etc., they will be delighted. But if I tell the same thing to the 15-year-old, I'm not sure whether they are going to be delighted, right? The 15-year-old will say, come off it. I want to do bungee jumping. I want to do river rafting. I want to have adventure. So my articulation of value to that stakeholder will be very different. Let me give one more example, and I'll take a quick look at the chat box, etc. So I'll stop sharing for a minute and go back to the main room. So we are all able to see, not now, we are able to see the screen now. During COVID, just after COVID, I happened to meet a gentleman who works with one of India's largest aluminum companies. And he's the CEO of the division which makes aluminum frames, right? He's the CEO of the division which makes aluminum frames. Now, here, so, and there's a question, and Theodora, I will answer that, right? So he makes aluminum frames, and he supplies a lot of these frames to builders. Now, I asked him, what is your value proposition to the builder? And he said, my value proposition to the builder is I reduce the builder's anxiety. And I said, how's that? He says, during COVID, I was the only company in India manufacturing aluminum windows. The builder has built a house which could be $200,000 or $500,000 or $1 million, but he's unable to sell the house because of unavailability of window frames, right? And for want of a small nut, the entire unit is not being able to be sold. So here he says that I was the only one who could deliver. So his value proposition is not cost. The value proposition is that he can deliver window frames, which is helping the builder to sell his houses. Now, Theodora, this is a great question that you have asked. If I listen to the customer, I am able to get only their inputs, right? What is their understanding of their world? So it means that the airlines guy says that, hey, I want you to digitize these 5 touch points. And I say, very good, I will digitize them. But actually understanding their needs, getting into the shoes of their customer, talking to multiple stakeholders, giving them perspectives, that goes a lot beyond listening to the customer. Because if I'm listening to the customer, at best I'm hearing what is said and what is unsaid. But if I'm an industry leader, if I'm talking to other customers, I can give them various perspectives, what they should be looking for, just like the airlines, which says this thing. Now, Sita, I'll come to that in a minute, but Theodora, I hope that question is answered, right? So how do you define value? And just give me a sort of a confirmation that that question is answered. So I'll share my screen once more, and I'll share my screen. So we will come to one part is, our 4 pillars are the IVS framework. Now, we talked about insights, and insights can be, so essentially what we are saying is we get superior insights. Based on the insights, we create a value proposition. We deliver a stellar customer experience, the E, for a range of stakeholders, because what creates value for one stakeholder may not create value for another stakeholder. CFO will be looking at revenue and cost. Chief sales officer will be looking at faster time to market, right? Different value proposition, different strokes for different folks. Now, my insight is, what is the pain or the opportunity? Based on the insight, I create a value, and based on the value, I create an experience across a range of stakeholders. So I'm repeating this almost like a chorus, but it is IVES. Now, Sita had this question of how do we create value for a customer? And please put down in the chat box some areas where you think we create value for a customer. So take half a minute, put down some areas where we create value for the customer. Okay, so I'm giving a little pause of half a minute. So write down what do you think creates value for a customer. And let's go and dive a little deeper into what Sita was asking. Now, I call this the customer value proposition. Price can create value. So Walmart is a price leader. In India, DMart is a price leader. Amazon is sometimes a price leader. Quality could be a value, right? I give terrific quality. So it's something like even a car, not anymore perhaps, but at one point of time, I'm not sure whether it's anymore or not because I haven't used, but Toyota was always respected for the kind of quality that it gave. Third is offerings, range of offerings. So you go to Walmart, you want to buy equipment for your garden, you want to buy some plants, you want to buy vegetables, you want to buy meat, you want to buy some clothes. It's all there under one shop. So is there a range of offering? Now, I could be a niche player as well. Timelines. Am I like the window frame guy? He reduced anxiety by delivering aluminum window frames on time, right? Functionality. What does your product do? What is the functionality that it does? What all can be done with this product? And a typical example would be a mobile phone, initially meant as a device for just talking and messaging. Today, we use it as a camera, we use it as a fitness monitor, we use it almost for everything. So functionality, a smartphone is a typical example. Relationships can create value. A lot of my customers say that I have got customers who've been with us for 15 years, 20 years. So it could be the spirit of partnership, the services that I'm giving. Brand can create value, right? You have a brand image. So Lexus is a part of Toyota, but it's branded as Lexus simply because people want to give it a premier positioning and not a Toyota-like positioning, which is more middle class, more economy and stuff like that. Now, at the end of it, I also mentioned that we want to look at outcomes. Now, if we want to look at outcomes, we got to look at a financial value proposition. Am I helping my customer to improve costs? Am I helping them to expand their revenues like this aluminum frame guy did? Once the aluminum frames were there, the houses could be sold and sold in quick time. Am I increasing the valuation of the company? So every company goes from quarter to quarter. And I recently met a CEO who was very proud. He said that I have survived for 68 quarters, right? 17 years, right? So valuation, every quarter he gave valuation and improve customer experience. Now, value is differently perceived at different levels. At a middle management level, quality may be a value. At a middle management level, timeline may be a value. But at the C-suite, what all can create value? So we have a very happy looking CEO. I don't know whether CEOs across the world look so happy or not. But we talk about improving cost, expanding revenue, valuations, improving customer experience, and last but not the least, regulatory. How do I help my customer to become compliant with laws like maybe in the financial service at some point of time, SOX compliance, in the healthcare segment, all data must be HIPAA compliant, right? How do I help them in becoming regulatory compliant? I don't know if all of you were there, but you don't want to have a Lehman Brothers kind of episode or a Volkswagen emission kind of episode, or maybe Siemens was also in some trouble because of anti-bribery laws. You want your customer to be really, really in line with this. So I'll pause for a moment. So Sita, between the two slides, I hope we have given some areas of what could create value for a operation level person, what could create value for a C-suite. Now, for example, if you were talking to different stakeholders, let's say there is somebody who is an SVP of supply chain, what would I talk to him about value? I could talk about cost. I could talk about just-in-time inventories. I could talk about more efficient warehouse management. I could talk about inventory management. I could talk about the ease of signing contracts, the ease of negotiation with vendors. But will all of this hold true for the CEO? To the CEO, I might actually talk about how can my solution help you in increasing your revenue? How can my solution help you in decreasing your costs? How can my solution help you get a better valuation in the market? How can my solution improve customer delight? So the what's in it for me, for Miriam, is a little different for the what's in it for me for Takuma. Because if I tell Takuma, hey, your revenues will go up, he says, look, I'm a supply chain guy. I am interested in the revenue. But for revenue, you please talk to Rajesh or you talk to Miriam, right? Faye Matthew may be a chief of security, information security, security breaches. So Faye Matthew will not be interested in revenue, will not be interested in cost, will be interested in security breaches, right? What happens if there's a security breach? What is the kind of impact it will have on the company, etc. Rajesh is the SVP of sales and marketing. And we might tell Rajesh that, hey, Rajesh, my solution will take you faster to the market. For example, the aluminum frames example. My solution may help your customers feel a lot better about our airlines, like the examples which I gave for the airlines. So each of these stakeholders has a different what's in it for me factor, right? So we talked about insights, getting and giving insights. We talked about a value proposition at an operational level, at a strategic level, and we spoke about how you articulate value. And I call this a WIIFM. What's in it for me? So if I go back, if I'm working for a company and my company is done well, and I go back home and tell my spouse that, you know, my company's turnover has gone up by 15%. I'm so excited. Our profits have gone up by 20%. My spouse is likely to ask me that, does that change? I'm so happy to hear it, but does that change your salary? Does that change your perks? Does that mean that we buy a better car? We can take the holiday we always wanted to take. So there's a very clear what's in it for me factor, right? So with this, the last point which I wanted to cover, and then we'll take some questions and have some discussions around this. And is okay, so I'll take the questions one by one. Another part about value is, you know, what if you do it and what if you don't? So there is a coercive element in value as well. So for example, you may say that you are safe now, but if you have a cyber attack, you will no longer be safe. And your entire system, your production system is dependent on machines. So if you have a cyber attack on your production system, your entire production system will go down. So depending on the stakeholder, value can be articulated as what if you do it and what if you don't do it, right? Yesterday, I was with an audience from APAC, and I asked them, what do you tell a child who is not serious about studies? So in APAC, we give a lot of value to academics and so on. So the participant said that I will tell her the benefits of studying. You'll go to a good university, you'll do well in life, you'll earn money. Or I will tell her that if you don't study, you'll be like the guy who's cleaning a car every day. So what if you do it? What if you don't, right? So Carl, is convenience is the value online marketing offers. And Carl, convenience is absolutely right. Convenience is one of the areas where, you know, we can actually talk about convenience as a value. So mobile banking is also convenience, right? I needed to send some money just before the conference, and I sent it in a matter of 30 seconds to somebody, right? It was done. So convenience creates values. Owen, does improving customer experience always improve valuation? Owen, yes and no. It is one of the levers to improve valuation, but I think that they need to go hand in hand. Now, if my customer experience has gone up, but there is some major audit issue which has come out, which my customers just are getting to know. It might kind of balance. There's also another one which I want to talk about. So when I was working, there was a company in India which was the third or fourth largest information technology company, and that got into a major financial scam. As a result of that financial scam, that company actually went down the tube. Now, when it went to a financial scam, the share prices dropped dramatically from a matter of, maybe in today's currency, about $20 to a few cents. That was the fall. But when they asked the customer says that, hey, I know some bad stuff has been done, but we are quite happy with the services that we are getting. So the valuation has fallen, but the customer is still happy. So when it's you may not get good valuation if your customer experience is bad, but having a great customer experience may not guarantee value. I hope that answers the question which Owen you had put up. Yeah. And I hope I got the pronunciation of your name right. There used to be an English cricket player whose spelling was the same and whose name was pronounced as Owen. So I'm not very sure there, but correct me if I'm wrong. Isabel, what is the one universal language which connects with all C-suites? So I think we kind of answered that question. Cost reduction, value enhancement, valuation of the company, future proofing, compliance, and customer satisfaction. These 6 pillars, if you can hit any of these 6 pillars, I think any CEO will be very happy. And the C-suite will look at outcomes. Very often we tell the C-suite that, I've got so much of experience. I've been doing consulting for the last 25 years. And the guy says, very nice, very nice. C guys are polite. But mentally he's thinking, so what? I need to tell him, how can I create value for you, right? Yulia, lovely question. Of the 4 pillars you presented, which one you believe will matter the most in the next 2 or 3 years? I personally think it is insights, because that is the starting point. Now let's look at this builder, this aluminum frame guy who goes to the builder. The insights that he gets is that the builder is really stuck with a whole lot of houses that he cannot sell, and he's really in trouble. So even if he says that I have 2 quality of windows, one is good, it's going to take you 2 weeks, one is kind of average, it's very sturdy, it will take 1 week. Probably the builder will say, just give it in 1 week, because I have understood the insights. So I think the starting point on which value proposition is built up is insights, right? And even, and insights could be even an anomaly. Like when the first guy says, why should I go to the bank to stand in line for my money? This would have happened in the Western world somewhere in the 1960s. The insight is that somebody doesn't want to go to the bank to collect money, and therefore ATMs, etc. came up. So the first ATM may have been in the 1950s, 1960s. That was an insight. So I think, Yulia, to answer your question, the insight would be a key area as far as out of the 4 pillars, out of IVS, I feel the insights would be the key area. Yeah. So organizers, I have, I would love to be around and answer some questions, but I also know that you have a speaker slot, the next speaker slot coming up in the next few minutes. So just wanted to share, if you do a search on my name, you should get me on LinkedIn. And I would be delighted if some of you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I would be delighted if some of you can ask further questions on LinkedIn. I will be extremely happy. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much for the questions. Thank you so much for the interactions. And we'll see you all soon.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shantanu Sharmaji. Thank you so much for your lead engagement and thoughtful, ideas about the supply chain management and all the inputs you have given to us. It's really wonderful. But I think you are the subject expert. You have got so many questions. I think we will send you all the questions with their names and I think you can put on your QR code in the email for us so that we can send it to us. I think there are so many in-depth questions from the audience which you need to. I think you can
Yeah.
get it.
I'll
Without.
be happy to receive in-depth questions, and if you want, you can pass them on. They can connect directly.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I
fine.
think Mr. Shantanu ji is also Sharma ji is also in the LinkedIn. Please do connect with him. Thank you so much for giving a wonderful insights on this
Thank
uh,
you so much. So I'll
topic.
figure out a way of leaving the meeting, but if I press the wrong buttons, just bear with me till then. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Namaste.
Take care. Bye-bye.